What's up everyone? Welcome back to my channel. In this video, I'm doing a home decor styling video. It's more like a styling explanation because it's already styled. It's this bar cart, bar shelf up here. And I originally did this as an IGTV on my Instagram. So I thought I would just go ahead and share it here on YouTube because it was a little bit of a longer video and it has some really good tips and thought that you guys might like it here as well. So basically, I'm going to kind of walk you through and talk to you about my thought process when it comes to styling a shelf or a little area in your home and kind of the rules that I follow. The first thing I do want to say though is there are no rules to designing. There are no rules to decorating. It really is, in my opinion, more of a feeling, more of like what you love, what you adore than anything. But there are a few things that I've noticed over the years that I've, continued to do over and over again. So I thought what I would do is let you guys know those different tips and ideas. That way the next time you go to style a bookshelf or a bar cart or a bar shelf or little area in your home, you might be able to use some of these tips to help you when choosing things. So the first thing that I want to say is to shop your home. You would be so surprised at the things that you can restyle and reuse within your own home. So I'll always mix things from my bookshelf to my coffee table to my shelf up here. I am constantly moving things around. For instance, actually, I'll show you my little fruit tray right now that I have. This is just a little European vintage dough bowl that actually used to be up here. So this is just a really great example that I wasn't planning on putting in this video, but that I would show you guys. I move things around and you can absolutely do the same in your own home. So that was the first thing that I wanted to say. Before you even go out and buy anything, look around your house and see where you can add and move things around and just give it a fresh new feeling, because I bet you would be surprised at what you can pull from your own home. My second piece of advice and what I do is finding a color palette. So I really only like neutrals, so whether that's more of like a gray color palette, or right now I'm really in, which is really trendy, which is usually not me, but I'm really into those warmer color palettes. So finding a color palette that's gonna work for your space, for your home, for your design is going to help you kind of pull the different pieces from your home, or if you go purchase things for that project. And I find it really helpful to stay on track when you have a color palette, especially if you're newer to design, because a color palette is a little bit easier to understand than, say, a texture palette. And the next thing that I am going to talk about is texture. So for me, textures, details, and materials kind of go hand in hand. So for instance, like texture, I will add antique pieces or like organic pieces or aged pieces. And then materials, I'll add, for instance, this little bar utensil set that I have. These are different materials. I have some brass in here, I have some wood, and I also have this marble container that they're in. So bringing together all those different materials really helps make the space in the area look a little bit more interesting and purposeful, rather than going and purchasing, say, from Pottery Barn. I know Pottery Barn sells barware sets. I personally say stay away from full barware sets. You can definitely get pieces of them, but I like to kind of mix in and make it my own so that no one else has it. And that's just kind of how I like to do things for myself and for my design. But that's a really good tip, is materials, mixing your materials. And then the last little piece of that is mixing your details. And I find this a lot in glasses. Like here I have a couple shot glasses. So although I have two shot glasses, they're completely different. This one is like half diamond, this one is a full diamond detail. And I like to get the details of pieces. Same within the bottles. All of them have different details, textures, feeling, that sort of thing. So mixing those different details is definitely going to give you a lot of interest and a lot of warmth to your design. The next thing that I want to say is adding life or adding greenery. I have this faux, well actually it's real olive twig, but it is dried. So I have this dried olive twig here, and I just went out and picked this from a tree right outside, and I placed it into this antique look-alike. These are actually really expensive. This one was only $20. I am gonna link everything that I mentioned down below, or very close dupes that you can shop as well. Everything on here is extremely affordable as well. So I have some faux olive twig. If you have the light to have a real plant, I definitely recommend that. Life brings a lot of warmth and just like a homey feeling to your space. So if you can add real life like a plant, do that. It also brings that little bit of color. I always say the only color that you'll find in my house is plants. So when it comes to actually designing the space, when it comes to actually laying everything out, I always think of it as like the human brain. And I didn't know that I was doing this, but when you go throughout my house, you will see that I do this over and over and over again. And I think it's because I naturally read this way, as most all of us do, is we read things, whether that's a book, whether that's a design, whether that's just outside, whatever it is, we read things from the left to the right. So if you look at this design, this is the left. I have heavier and darker, and then it softens up over to the right. So I didn't even know that I did this, but it's definitely something that I've learned while studying design a little bit, and that I have noticed that I do naturally. So whenever you are designing your space, kind of put your tall things over to the left, or your heavier things, and then soften it up to the right and see how that feels for you. See if that feels good. See if that kind of feels natural for you. The other thing too, I have a lot of my darker pieces over here, which I think just naturally, because I'm reading left to the right and making it heavier on the left, softening it to the right. However, you could kind of mix this up and bring some balance. So bringing some dark over to this side. I do have like this dark Hendrix bottle, which is a clear liquor, but it's in a dark bottle, which really does help. But you could put like your darker liquors on this side and your lighter over here. I just really like the way that this design came out, but that is an option for you. And just kind of feel and see how that goes. Not to mention is to step back and take a photo. When you take a photo, it allows you to step away from the project and see it from either a photo, or step out of the room, come back and look at it again. But take some time away from the space and take a photo, look at it, and kind of get away from it. Because when you're up close and looking at it, you can't always see it from afar. But if you can step away, look at it, and look at it through a photo, you might notice things that you don't love or that you want to change. One of my favorite things to do when designing is adding my own personal touch. Something that's personal to me, something that can start a conversation, something that's developed over time, something that isn't going to be the same thing as someone else. And I've done that here with this little tiny skull that I have right here. This we got in Mexico one year when we were there. We watched Coco the night before we went to Mexico, and we ended up finding this little skull, and it just made us really, it just was like so sweet and brought this like warmth to us. So Coco's been all throughout our house, but right now he is up on the bar shelf. Definitely adds to the masculine element that I have up there. And I really like the depth of the whole feeling. So I have him up there. I love him up there. And I just think having something that is your own little special touch and your own little special piece to your design is going to make it stand out from other designs, or make people recognize your designs over other people's. So that's something that I really like. And also with the bar styling, I really like to go a little bit more extra, a little bit more glam, a little bit more full and homey. I sometimes do like more of a minimal modern look, but when it comes to a bar, I don't like that look at all. I really like it to feel warm. I like it to feel heavy. I like it to have a lot going on. I like whenever I'm at a bar and I'm sitting there and I'm just looking at the bottles, I really love just the look of a full bar. So I've done that on my own here with my own bar, and I just really love the feeling that it brings, and I feel like it's just such a good feeling for me. So the other thing that I wanted to say is when you go with something a little bit more glitzy and glam, like liquor bottles. This whiskey bottle has diamond details in it. These shot glasses are whiskey double glasses. The decanter back there are a little bit more glitzy and glamorous. And you can add, you know, if you had like a full bar space, you could add more like tufted bar stools, things like that, that give it that 1920s vibe. But I really like to soften up that look with like antique pieces. So this planter here, I have a wood charcuterie board back here. I really like to soften it up and find that balance. So that way it's not just in your face, glamorous, glitzy. And that's my way that I like to tone it down just a little bit. And the last thing that I want to say is to really get the feeling that you want to attract when it comes to your bar, bookshelf, styling, whatever you're doing. What do you want it to feel like? For me, I want it to feel full, homey, warm. I don't want it to feel cold, empty, and modern. That is not the feeling that I'm going for. I want it to feel inviting. I want it to feel elegant. I want it to feel sophisticated. So that's kind of the whole vibe that I went for, but I did tone it down so it wasn't too sophisticated or too elegant where it feels inviting. So that's why I've added those antique pieces. I've added some greenery, things like that, just to tone it down just a little bit to make it feel like anyone who comes over can pour themselves a glass of whiskey. Okay, so I wanted to bring you guys a little bit closer so you can see all of the layers of the shelf and all of the details and all the different tones and textures and materials that I've used and that I talked about in the video. So this is kind of what we have going on. Woo, sorry for the shaky video. You can see the wood peeking back there in the decanter, and that I've definitely continued it on down here. All the different textures from the alcohol bottles, and then the different materials and textures of the bar utensils. So that was kind of the whole vibe and purpose of this bar shelf. Okay, you guys, those are the tips that I use when designing my at-home bar shelves, my bookshelves, any little spaces. Like I said, I use kind of the same ideas, but in different areas of my home, bookshelf, things like that. So I hope that this video was helpful. Let me know if you have any requests or if you want to see any other videos. And until next time, I will see you in my next video. Bye.